To go outside the box, Pudge, Core, Skywrath, we haven't seen any of this throughout the main stage.
All of it got thrown to the wayside, but we were expecting random. Like everyone's been describing Wings as this all-random team. You never know how to play against them because you never know what they're going to pick. But Digital Chaos, also one of these teams heavily respected for their drafting throughout the tournament.
Let's hop into the game, see what's going on there.
That's right. This is the place where we ask the questions. How does it all unfold? The Weeha on the Skywrath, the Moo moving to the Timbersaw. It is going to be classics in some ways, but also the curveballs in the other. You saw that grin on Misery. He seems to be very, very confident coming into this tournament.
I know they have to be riding that high after taking down EG, and I haven't seen a Course guy in ages. I've seen him play it on stream a couple times though. He really likes that hero. I think it's one of his favorite heroes.
Is this when you actually go to what something like EG, like PPD said about the old TI5 final? You pick up heroes which are just the comfort zones, where you know you're gonna have a really good game because it's just your style of hero. I guess we believes this is it. He had other options. He had a lot of options.
I also think you need to take Wings out of their comfort zone. They always seem to be able to know exactly what you're going to do, what lanes you're going to throw at them.
Weeha won't stop it. He is clucking like a hen at the moment as that Skywrath mage. The battle will begin in 15 seconds when the runes will spawn. Digital Chaos, they're grouping up heavily to contest this top rune, but so are Wings.
And it looks like they're actually going to try and aggro over here.
Wait for it, here they come, they're coming down into the river. Who's gonna get that first rune? It does go, both go the way of Wings. Weeha taking a lot of damage early on, but the Illuminate, it hits on 4, Blink is so low, DC's almost got first blood, Resolution, time looking into the first blood, but it's Weeha on the Skywrath throwing the orb from range. That will bring down Blink.
Man, this early Observer Ward set up by DC too. They had vision of all those heroes, and Wings, they did not see that Illuminate coming. The Wisp came in, got chucked by that Illuminate. Early first blood goes the way of Wee.
And again, we see DC turn to this Misery Ogre mid lane zoner, trying to keep the Storm Spirit out, while Weeha taunts the Storm Spirit back to his tier 1 tower. But the top lane's going to be a bit of a rough run here for Resolution, as Ice, he has leveled up Rot level 1, he'll have Innocence to back him up, but they're trying to create a little bit of space here for Shadow. Resolution is not alone. Saxa is up here to help him as that Keeper of the Light.
Early salve already coming out on the Skywrath Mage, but he's doing very well in terms of CS, limiting the Storm to 0 and 0 with the aid of Misery.
And Misery is just making life an absolute living hell, a Storm Spirit with no progression. That's got to be a dangerous thing. How can Wings change this up? How do you change the balance of these lanes? You do have one of the best rotating surprises of the game, and that's in the Pudge of Wings. But you can't even level 2 on him until he's got a hook.
It's also the Wisp. The Wisp comes in when you overcommit to a lane. But they have really good vision inside.
Well, now that Io's arrived in mid, Misery has rotated to the top lane. Ice is still not level 2 yet, but okay, with the Observer Ward behind the tower from Saxa, he's able to see Ice moving around. So now the Pudge rotations, the second he leaves that top lane, DC's going to know about it.
And that Sentry Ward is a little bit out of range. Wings have a lot of trouble in this early game. They want to get stacks up with a Wisp, especially when you have a Storm Spirit. They need some levels on the Pudge so he can actually hook this Keeper of the Light.
Well, that's why Misery's moved over. Shadow going to cut through the tree line. Ice needs to get in range to make that Rot work, but that's also an Ogre, an insanely tanky style hero. Not even the core is able to zone this out in this one position. Silencer not really having any love, even with that pull. Same time, DC do the same and keep the equilibrium their way.
Even if the early game's going poorly for Wings, they can still make it up in the team fight. It's going to be a long time until they can build Greaves, Lotuses, PKBs, the counters to Global Silence. So come 15-20 minutes, I think Wings can start flexing their lineup.
Oh, bottom lane Faith dropping very, very low. We haven't even really had a close talk about this bottom lane, the Slaughter versus the Timber. Right now, things seem to be pretty even on the CS board, but how is this lane meant to progress?
We actually see Timbersaw not going for a Quelling Blade here. This is why Slardar is able to actually overcome him in CS. It's very low on regen on the Slardar, but you expect it to go slightly Timbersaw favored.
Well, if Moo can have that, he's going to have a really great transition to that mid game. Maybe be online by the time Wings are ready to fight.
One of the best runes for a Skywrath Mage, Regeneration. That's definitely gonna win the lane for him.
Yeah, that's just gonna spam out the Storm Spirit, and he needs a second option. At least Storm, I don't know if he really wants to start farming up inside of his own jungle. There's actually a couple of stacks prepared. So maybe that's his catch-up, use the remnants.
Yeah, they also need to get levels on the Wisp. Wisp might need to help them out with like a bottle refill to deal with this constant spam from Skywrath Mage.
Well, the lanes have settled down after that first blood in the river. We've had 3.5 minutes of peace. But on bottom lane, the first big rotation is actually going to be, well, I say big, it's Innocence coming down to help. To gank up Moo, he's got 1 point up in Simultaneous, so he's got a way to get away from this, but then the movement speed, Crush off cooldown in 2 seconds time. No support coming in from DC, the Crush will connect, but Moo, 10 reactive armor charges. He's so tanky, the body block has got enough. Where's your back there? Almost! The chain away! They're under the tower! There's no mana on Moo, but Faith, he might be in a little bit too deep here. He needs a way out. Crush is available. Where's that tether? It's off cooldown, but the Crush is going to miss. In comes your tether. Moo's looking for an opening. Remember, he's got no mana, no mango, and that means he can't find the kill. Faith dives deep, but does not kill the Moo.
I really like how Moo baited out that Crush there, just ran right outside of the range of Wings trying to make something happen in the other lane, and no TPs even from the supports, so they're comfortable in Moo being sacrificed down there.
I'm wondering if he asked for anything and DC's just like, I'm sorry, man. We got to hold this top tower. You survived that gank and DC gets so much more. The top 3 CS is on the board. The lanes are looking fantastic for DC to start with. They have a small advantage. Just now they might find a bigger one. Ice caught out. Rot denial, not possible. Misery gets the last club in.
One bright side for Wings there is that they did drop 2 sentry wards on the top lane at the same time. A little bit of miscommunication from them, and they won't be able to get that D-ward on that Ops.
So Wings, is this repair zone now for them, or are they still comfortable with progression in the first 5 minutes?
You don't want to lose the lanes this badly. Look at Sky's CS compared to the Storms. 29 versus 11. They were neck and neck at one point.
This looks to be the reason why they're rotating up. So Faith Beyond as well as Innocence. Looking towards Weeha. Weeha has been very cocky in this mid lane, going over the river, and this is that kind of moment they were waiting for. Faith runs in, they'll get an easy crush, Innocence to help out with the Wisp Spirits, Blink the Storm Spirit! The Mystic Fire! Weeha! He burned the Retina out of Blink! And now it's a 1-1 trade-off, but that was a heavy rotation for Wings, the time committed for that, and it's still a 1-1, the mid for mid.
And the Ogre staying there in the mid lane, really taking its toll on the Storm Spirit. He's not even close to level 6 at this point. Would really like that before they make that rotation. At least they finally get a kill.
Innocence is back on the stacks. And you're already seeing the TP coming over, and Blink, yeah, he doesn't want to go anywhere near that mid lane for now. They have to clean up these stacks inside the Dire jungle in a bit.
But as we say that, DC is already moving into that area, though it will be under the eyes of the Observer.
Ice is pinging out. He feels like he's got an opening here. While Resolution was farming the camp, the Dire Observer was still sees quite nicely. Rain and Sentry is too far away. Now Ice moves over. Oh, what's the hook? Actually threads the DC needle, and they have to turn with a rod. Ice stunned up. He'll deny himself with the rod. He's away. Back behind the T1 tower. Still a couple of stick charges up his sleeve. Resolution also with Time Walk and stick charges. They'll back up as far as they can. But Resolution, the ball slap into the tree line, and the glaive, it's not enough damage. But it is! The last word was had by Wings. Misery's coming up for some deep revenge. He needs to find him in the tree lines. Shadow starts his TP out. Innocence does not have the man to do so. Misery gonna loop around the tree line, try and lock him in, but then the tether away the creep wave, avoiding the Luminate as well. He gets out at the same time. Weeha went for a crazy dive behind the tier 1 tower and lost his life.
Wow, that outplay the Wisps too. They're having a lot of trouble keeping track of him. He doesn't even have boots at the moment, opting for the raindrops instead. Might have even lived from that short charge Illuminate. And now TP on the top, bottle refill on IO. They're doing well in this early game now. Yeah. Off the back of the rotation of the Wisp, they really need some more hooks from Ice. However,
you know, it's that same thing we saw from the Wings card just previously. Never really felt his big influence inside the game. He normally was just that fear which allowed his other supports to have space, but this silencer can't really make the most out of that.
Yeah, DC have to make sure not to overstay their welcome in the safe lane, in Wings' safe lane, that is. A lot of times you'll see the 3 heroes just stay there way too long. They cleaned up by heavy rotation from the mid laner. But Storm, not have a good time. He's also not gotten any kill runes. Last 2 runes, haste, double damage, going to their way to Skywrath Mage. 8-minute rune will be a bounty for Storm.
So again, no joy on the rune. There is a lot of joy to be had in that bottom lane. DC, Moo is just having a great time as he comes in close over on the slider. 2 points up in Timber Chain is available, but he's not going to play that game as on top lane. Oh, Keeper of the Light gets caught out. Finally one of those hooks.
Yeah, it's about to be that time where they need to maybe ditch this or reinforce it with the help of the Moo Timber. Sawyer are forced to help out the other lanes, and that's why you see the Timber out of control on CS.
Well, they had to find a way to completely shut him down at some point, or else Moo's going to do what Moo's done before. Huge win rate on that Timbersaw.
Man, the 8-minute rune was there for quite a long time. Haste for Sky.
Nice thing for Weeha if he wants to get aggressive. Also, nice way to chase the Storm Spirit, who's only got maybe 1/4 of his mana to steal. Weeha gonna miss the Mystic Flare. So some decent damage to the Storm Spirit. Wow, okay, doing more than decent. It was amplified by the seal to start with. But Blink, this is just not his game.
Yeah, they got rid of a lot of the raindrop charges. Moo going in deep on bottom.
Yeah, Faith so low, but confident enough to stand next to his own tier 2 tower. Doesn't want to back up completely. Wants to make Moo a little bit more fearful of being between a tier 1 and a tier 2 tower before even the 10-minute marker. Because he's doing this with a creep skip, it guarantees the early tier 1. And the help comes in from Coddle.
As we say that, Blink and Io.
Oh, can they jump this? Moo still with the amplification. Faith comes in. There's your first jump. The cross to start with. No vortex for the damage output. It may be enough for the bash, but then the Timbersaw chains up the shark trap damage. It's always going to kill Liz if he's not careful. But they find the kill before he pulls it in.
Saksa just ditched him right there. I think with an Illuminate, he might have been able to get a triple kill right there. But Moo, that's a Rice, try to do what he could.
He almost managed to get himself, as you said, a triple kill. He just needed more time. Then it wasn't available. Resolution, walking right next to Shadow in the tree lines. He doesn't know. He came so close you could probably smell him. Unless he goes around the corner of that tree, he still doesn't know. Shadow, cloak and dagger stuff, but he'll need help if they want to defend this. Innocent still doesn't have level 6, so there's no help coming there, and there it is. They just back out. Get TP of the Shadow back to base.
All that time wasted actually could have been done to the damage done to the tower. It's at 300 HP and need a little bit of help from Faceless Void. Also Shadow going for a little bit of a different build. Arcane Curse would have been potentially pretty good versus spammy heroes like the Faceless Void, the Sky, and the Timber, but opting to prioritize the last word so that Timber can't run away, Faceless Void can't cast Chrono, and just overall a little bit better synergy for their team fight.
Little extra control also arriving for Wings as Dismember arrives, the first tome being used on the Pudge. Really trying to make up for those levels he couldn't achieve on the top because he just had to hug the silencer so close.
But DC have had so much control over Wings' jungle with another deep Observer Ward as they finish the T1 on top. Wisp just closing in on level 6, should get it after this camp. And starting to eye where those relocate ganks will happen as Ice perches in the bottom lane.
Yeah, he's waiting to prepare on Moo. With the amplification, he knows he's going to get the hit, the chain up. Ice still waits his time out.
Hooking up himself.
That's a creep in the way. Oh no.
And not enough mana for a hook Dismember, especially with the level 3 chain on the Timbersaw. But Y and Blink are ready, waiting for the opportunity. It could be on top if he uses a defensive global silence.
That's where DC is headed at the moment with a 3-man smoke maneuver. As we'll have ourselves, just a quick pause. Nice start as far as DC feel like it was a good start for them. Overall, it's been moving between 1,500 net worth going the way of DC. But Wings, they've repaired a 2k deficit in experience, dragging it back their way after what was a bit of a harsh start in the first part of the laning. Can't believe that guy got
Who'd you vote for, Toby?
Fire, who else? He's the man. Well, we can go again as the pause is over. And Shadow has to be prepared for this. The Chrono Spear out with a Mystic Flare. It's the old school combo and the Illuminate. The damage, it's not enough for the one charges. He will still die. Rehired an extra Arcane Orb up his sleeve.
Wow, Skyrat's actually so fast with the Bloodlust. He's moving like 412 move speed. Bloodlust just ran off him, but he's very farm, closing in on the Atos. And one of your main concerns about running a core Sky is that he's going to fall off similar to perhaps a core Jakira that they ran earlier. But when he's this far ahead of the Storm Spirit, looks to be a pretty good game for him, but it's a slippery slope.
It is, but Wings still finding space while that gank was going on, so Silencer not the happiest time of all. Still gonna be happy that's his first death in 12.5 minutes.
Do you believe in the taunt curse, Toby?
I believe in the cockiness curse, yeah. Yeah, don't go too deep. I think Weeha already got that a little bit when he died behind the tier 1 tower.
Needs to do the 30 bird a few more times.
Top lane, Moo's gonna come over. Resolution waiting in the trees. No Chronosphere available for DC.
They're just fading it out at the moment, just waiting.
I'm surprised Fade comes to... Okay, that's the reason, yeah. He's already got that early Blink Dagger. With Tranquils, it's a little bit raw. No early stat items over on Faith Beyond.
And that Observer Ward will not catch wind of the Slardar nor the IO. So they are still blind. Although, you know, Silencer farming out alone with threat of relocate.
The thing actually came out. They think there's something going up here. DC's rotating support, but it might be too late. Misery taking heavy damage. The multicast not enough to save his life. And now Resolution has to time walk back to the tier 1 tower.
Wings did such a good job of evading vision of that Observer Ward, but without Chronosphere up, not sure if DC can fight here. They're
forcing it. Leap in, time dilation. Global Silence comes out from Shadow, making this very difficult. Faith Beyond, blink forward. Stuns over on Resolution with the Timber Chain over. They need more damage. Resolution's going to go down. The Illuminous barely nicks the back of Faith, but with the Timber Chain forward, Mood bringing the damage, but it's still not enough. Faith Beyond into the tree line. Blink. He's got it. He's into the tree. Starting a TP. The Hawk away, keeping it going all the way home. It's Mountain Hawking TI16 style. You're still brought back with the relocate, so Innocence will have to give up his life here.
He lost a whopping 4 gold from that, already perking his urn right before, and I don't know how Wings managed to make it out of that one, but that was a very fast Global Silence from Shadow right as Moo went in. As we can see, like, DC can't do anything during the Global Silence, not as of yet. Faces Void going for an early Vlads, it seems. Diffusal Blade is normally the build, maybe a little bit later on for the Faces Void if you want to counter the Global Silence. Timbersaw still has a long way to go until his Bloodstone, then maybe a Yules or a Lotus to deal with it.
But we see now how DC love to push. Second Global Silence goes down. They know they got the advantage. They've got Chronosphere up as well, so they attack into the tier 1 tower. They can keep going unless Wings want to try and fight them. Not there. Maybe it's a tier 2. DC, are they going to keep going?
They need to take it easy during the Chronosphere, and Pudge has to be really quick with his hook during the Chronosphere because the Skywrath ult does insane amounts of damage, especially with how high level Wii is. He doesn't have level 2 ulti quite yet, but the response time has to come within half a second.
Nice deep ward down by Zuxa. Looking deeper in, Shadow. Well, easy TP out of the top lane too. Moo can't cancel that, no stuns. So Yule Scepters for this Timbersaw.
They use a dire scan near the top room, so they know that everyone's down here.
Well, that's one way to... No, he even missed a denial. It's one way to deny a catapult.
But look at where they're setting up. Global Silence coming off cooldown in just 10 seconds time. We in very deep.
Faith doesn't have vision of him. Now he will. Blink, crush, Storm Spirit jumps forward. Skywrath made. No real defensive abilities. Resolution. He time warped in like he was about to go for the Chronosphere and then pulled out.
I have to applaud Wings again for taking all these fights outside of DC's vision. They do have a ward in this mid lane.
Coming over. That Observer will see space. Isai is still on the back lines, ready to be that saving grace. Blink, crush, Misery now hooked down. Does he have enough damage? Resolution, no mana for a Chrono, and the Global Silence. They can't respond now, DC. Literally, mute button's been pressed. Wings, they will be forced out. As Moo's on the front lines to go back up to the hillside of the Radiant Jungle. But they're still surrounding that mid-tier 1 town, but not for long.
Such a tricky place for DC. They want to fight because they're right outside their T1 and they have vision, but their Skywrath has been down, and as soon as we respawn, Wings are out of there.
Notice too where Wee's TPing, he goes straight down to bot lane. He'll walk up and find the Storm Spirit with that Rod of Atos. The hook out again. The Rod of Atos slow. It cannot hold people inside that Mystic Flare, and it's still a level 1. It wasn't enough damage to get through Blink anyway.
They really want to take a fight with the Chronosphere up here. No Global Silence on Wings, and they know they have to get out of here right now.
And no global, no relocate, so you don't even have that saving grace when one of your cores gets caught in the Chrono.
But the battle of the cooldown of the ultimates are going to Wings at the moment. Global Silence, 130 seconds. Chronosphere, same, 130, but they haven't been able to use it. And if this keeps going like this, Wings are just going to continue to get a lot of farm in the Storm Spirit, who had a terrible early game. He was maybe 1,500 below the Skywrath, but now they're caught up. DC with an aggressive maneuver, smoking down near Roche.
You wonder if it's one of those lanes again. Like, Jakira's really great up against Medusa, but what happens after you hit the 15-minute mark? Like, how does this Skywrath Mage keep doing work?
If they want kills, like, ideally it's just with the Ogre, so you don't have to blow the Chronosphere, but Shadow, he, I believe, was scouted out as he headed into there, but if the smoke pops, they're gonna think it's because of the tower, so they can't head over there. Radiant has used Scan, thinking that Shadow's in the trees. It will light up green, and we will have to find another person to kill.
And they missed their target. They can go down to bottom lane, but there's 3 Dire Observer wards all through the Radiant jungle. So vision superiority, at least in the jungle itself, will go to Wings, but around the tower fight, it will be the favor of DC.
DC have also missed their V wards on the bottom lane, and Wings still have 3 up there. Smoke again, right as Global Silence is about to come off cooldown.
They want to defend bottom. The recall already came in. Weehaw was brought in. Blink in the neighborhood. There's your first crush. Did that help with the blinding light? Yeah, there is. Double TPs, but Global Silence again causing problems. Misery will arrive at Faith. He's in way too deep. The double crush, but Seal, Mystic Flare will find the kill. Eyesight, he's trapped. The Creeper's locking in the tree line. He can't escape. The Illuminate will help get the kill. But it goes to Weehaw. As Wings force the issue a little too hard under the tier 1.
They expected a relocate coming right there. Faith went in. You got a very important hero in a Skywrath Mage, but Storm seems a little bit too far behind, even with level 2 Electric Vortex. It would have been a kill, and don't know where the Wisp and his partner was, but they don't even have to blow Chronosphere for that. Early Bloods, they can threaten Road, but they don't really have good heroes to take it out at all. That's a very overwhelming concern for DC.
At least when that Diffusal Blade is up, that's going to be less concerns for DC. But for now, Wings, Bloodstones are up for both sides. Blink gets his fresh one, now with 12 Bloodstone charges, and the same for Move. So these guys are very happy with their mana regen pulls.
The itemization from Wings looks like a 4-stab is coming out from Slardar, counter the Skywrath ulti, and then some magic resistance coming out from Eyesight with a casual cloak. Shadow, early damage item in the drums, and working towards that Atos. Atos is, yeah, pretty decent if they want to focus people down that are having trouble locking people down because the Pudge does not have a Blink Dagger. And Slaughter has to start off the fight.
It's a Eyesight. Well, here they go. He walks straight up the hillside, Mana League, and he goes for the Dismember. No lucky rot death there. So DC get a free kill.
3 unanswered kills by them, but Misery looks to be a little bit vulnerable in the mid lane. Instantly reinforced by Wee.
Well, that's a nice rune for Shadow to have if he can force a fight while it's still up. That Arcane rune, lowering the cooldown, or maybe no, they're actually going to give it over to Blink.
They have that Observer ward. DC know exactly what's going on.
Well, that's why they've already moved to the dire side of the river.
They need to set up wards over here. And this T2 tower is going to go down unless Wings come over there, but no one's in sight.
Well, they still have a relocate, but Io is probably the closest of any of these heroes. Like, he can drag Shadow up, but that's all. Chronosphere now on Faith. TPs begin. Global Silence once again making it difficult for DC to get the instant kill. But now the pivoting forward. Faith just explodes. They're going to have more damage, but Seahawk can get that ulti down the card. There we go. But it's all being chained up. Wins together, holding hands. But they make 9 together just to stay forward. Lewis throw one sees the tower. Chains away. Wings, they buy back on Faith. They need a good crush out from him. Blink is off cooldown. He'll find Sasuke over in the tree line, so he'll take a fall too. I will have grabbed that with a denial of tower. Still a costly fight for Wings.
If they lose a tower, they have to buy it back on the Slardar, and it's going to be really slow on his progression for that 4-step.
Faith, Blink, crush. Mid-lane's resolution though. Time off the cooldown in a second. So he'll time dilate and then run away. It's like Faith trying to force an issue, or at least make it so DC doesn't feel comfortable to move across the map.
They had a lot of trouble breaking down Wii, and it's going to be even more troublesome as he picks up his Yule Scepter. He managed to get his Mystic Flare off very early on into the fight. And he doesn't have any armor. He should be taken down a little bit more easily, but they don't really have too much physical damage to complement the Amplify.
What is any kind of armor item that Skywrath Mage will want to pick up?
We see Veil pretty commonly on Skywrath, probably the best of the worlds, but Yule's is likely much, much better to help him out against the Storm Spirit in an instant cast so he can get out of a Pudge Hook protection.
Oh, the smoke. Wings have knobs ward up. ISIS will break it. Do they want to go on him? Roshan's not dead yet. They put the Timbersaw on the front lines. Digital Chaos trying to find that quick opening. Shadows nearby. There is no Global Silence in trouble. Blink is down. He'll commit suicide with that Bloodstone. He'll be back in 10 seconds, but 10 seconds may be too long. Shadow will go down. Innocent's attempted relocate will fail. He didn't get him out in time.
They can hook out the Wisp, though. They can hook out the Wisp. That's the only play that I think they have to perhaps save him.
Eyesight standing too far away. Now he's going to come down close enough to it. Innocence, the stun's there. Eyesight holds the hook. Instead, they may try and contest Roshan. Storm Spirit very easy to jump in, but the Observer Wards up for both Dire and Radiant on the cliff sides of Roshan. Here comes your first hook. They drag you up. They've got the Graves in the 3-man total. Resolution. He hit the money line right here. Chain forward. Wings. Where's your extra damage? Resolution will keep chasing down after him. The Yules are up, keeping Faith out of it. And Move still wants Eyesight. They're going to go with Faith first. He'll drop down, and they get the ball. Wings, they had 5 feet. Time to bite through 10 of the grave.
What a godly Chrono Spear from Resolution. Wings thought they had that advantage with a high gun Observer Ward, but DC, they sneak an Observer Ward from inside the pit. Wings think they're safe over there. They think they're under the cover of fog, but I also really like the positioning of the melee heroes in DC. Resolution was standing to the north side of the witch in case Pudge throughout the hook. He could just turn around with the Chrono Spear and Move positioning over there too, getting hooked instead so that Faces Void can do what he does best.
Well, they give the Immortal over to Weeha. As they can look to the tier 2 tower. A lot going their way. Global Silence is back up for Wings, so they do have that strength in the team fight. 50 seconds for Resolution before Chrono is up. And remember, still DC want to fight around the timings of these big ultimates. And Wings, they want to make sure if that Chrono is down, they have Global Silence up there looking for kills too. Something which we haven't seen from Ice. This Pudge has been more like a get out of jail free card. If you can stay in the right position.
They've been 5-manning a lot. They haven't really been in a vulnerable position for Wings to gank them with a reload.
Hook. Ice, he's found Move. Relocates on the way. They got extra help, and Move's gonna pop. Could not deny himself. He's actually in the neighborhood. Might try and find a revenge kill. It was a relocate in, so he knows there's only gonna be one hero left. And it looks like Ice, the man without a single point up in Flash Heap, will tie to the magical damage of Wee. Inside the Dire jungle, while on bottom lane, Global Silence helps kill the Void, so tit for tat between DC and Wings.
DC have to be careful not to give out too many kills. They actually gave the Aegis of the Immortal to the Skywrath instead. Maybe thinking that Faces Void not terribly useful after his Chrono Spear is done. Wee being the biggest damage dealer on their side.
They might still be really concerned that Wee could just pop way too easily. Don't have him there, so hey, give him a second life.
I think you're more worried about the Faces Void dying first in the fights. Timbersaw has enough Bloodstone charges to be almost instantly recalled into the fight. Faces Void, if you don't have Chrono Spear, you're actually pretty likely to lose the fight.
No to his item build on the Faceless Void. He went for Manta style as opposed to finishing up a Diffusal Blade.
That's fine. Both of them get out of Global Silence one or the other. It's also really good to counter the Pudge Hook. As soon as you get Pudge Hook, you Manta style, and the cast time on the Time Walk is not instantaneous. So it's an easy way to get out without having to rely on your team to back you up.
Moves also bringing some damage of his own, going for that Yule Scepter we're talking about.
And Storm also picks up a Yule Scepter, more likely than not to counter the Skywrath, Silence, and Ultimate.
Give him some way to jump in and out. Some time to regenerate, some time to think about the fight. For now, DC, they're the ones holding advantage. They're coming in towards the mid lane. Towards the tier 2 tower. Chrono is up. Basically, everything apart from Global Silence is up. That's 42 seconds still on cooldown for Wings. Basically, it has some momentum on the bottom lane. Might make DC think twice about going to the tier 3s. And that's exactly what happens. They're going to back out. New items from DC. We going for a very early game style build. Atos, Yules, and now a Blink Dagger on the Skywrath.
You get on the back line and kill that Storm Spirit, or sorry, kill the Silencer. He doesn't have a way out of the Silence right now. He is the easiest target to kill. If he gets the Ancient Seal on him before he can pop his Global, I think Wings lose that fight tragically.
So you need Silencer to have some kind of way out.
Or just good positioning too. We initially thought it was going to be a support Silencer, but core Silencer, very vulnerable without BKB. Sometimes we see Shadow Blade come out from him, but might be a Force Staff at the moment.
Everyone's getting Yule Scepters. Face just finished is his.
DC.
Are they going to find anything with this, with a 4-man maneuver? And they're smoking at the same time as Global Silence is off cooldown.
And looks like they are going to show the Timbersaw in the mid lane, but they can easily recall him to the fight. Dire's use scan, they know exactly where they are.
So smart from Wings. They see it coming, but how do they react?
They need an observer ward.
They actually can't TP out Blink. Blink is walking so far over that he can just jump, and yep, there she goes into the tree line. Number one, but the seal is up. You'll Scepter will dispel it. Global Silence for Resolution. Drops the Chronosphere. They wait for him to hit the ground and then burn him in the light.
They knew that smoke was coming, but he didn't jump that far. I'm surprised he actually went to the right side instead of left where the rest of his team was.
It was just the TP being on cooldown. Maybe he felt like he had to jump all the way to the tier 3 tower, but he had to close the distance to do that.
Perhaps, but if you just go to the left side, you have the observer ward there. You can hide, pop the smoke.
Innocence. Oh, Weeha! Blink in, you'll step to the crunch! Hits on 4! They hook out Resolution! Almost back to tier 4 tower! He'll time walk down up the force up from Mystery trying to save him. The Aegis Immortal will trigger, so Weeha back up again, and they're gonna burn down the Slaughter. The assault into the base. Ice can't keep the fight going for Wings. Unable to latch that hook, but it's still Shadow finding a double kill, repelling DC.
They wanted to go in that small window where the Storm Spirit was still dead. But haste breeds mistakes.
And it does. The tier 3 town takes minimal damage. With every one of these kills as well, just a little bit more of that intelligence of DC gets stolen by Wings. Up to 16 now on Shadow. Slowly buffing him up.
I'm not sure if Wings can take large-scale engagements at this point. They still need more items up.
They're pinging out the top. I think Ice wants to go for a hook. They have a relocate available from Innocence.
Trying to make use of the last couple of minutes of this observer ward, but DC are grouped up far too much. And things are going to get a lot easier once next daytime hits.
Oh, the observer ward. They see Blink. He's walking straight into Misery. The Suns, the Mystic Flares. You'll step her up. Is there a relocation there? Yeah. No! Innocence! It's like he grabbed onto him, but not strong enough to pull him through the void. And now he's coming back in 3, 2, 1. And goodbye, Innocence. He'll spend his money before death, both mech recipe as well as bucket recipe.
The Storm Spirit has died 7 times this game. We is just crushing him at every turn.
May actually be on 1 Bloodstone charge soon. He's down to 3 Bloodstone charges on this Storm Spirit. Oof. And now he's building an item which you normally get when you have momentum. He's going back into the Orchid after Bloodstone and Yules. While Paul in the jungle, Ice and Mystic Flare doing some work. He'll survive. The Glimmer Cape keeps him invis. And Faith looking for the crush, but he missed it. Now Resolution. They already found one. Weeha is caught inside the Chronosphere, trying to kill the Slaughter. Shadow will move over. Can they find the kill? Yules up from Slaughter. He'll go again up and towards the air. Shadow still wants his kill over on Weeha. Faith will drop in the meantime with a Rod of Atos. The curse. It should be enough with the Yule Scepter. Dispel. Shadow's running out of mana. The blink out. Weeha keeps the guy going. Resolution for the time lock. A double kill for Moo. And Wings tied it to the end of the earth in a stiff breeze.
Another phenomenal play coming out from Wings. Such an unlucky miss uphill as Silencer was going for the finishing blow with the amp damage still on Sky, but he is styling on them.
Now they look for more. Blink having the ball landing himself away from Moo. DC are starting to roll with the punches. It's going to be even more difficult to try and repel them as these early game items with this really strong mid-game draft hitting its mark from DC. We've got Diffusal plus Manta up. They've got everything to deal with Global Silence. Even almost a Lotus Orb up for the Timber.
Yeah, their items are coming out way too quickly. They really need maybe an Aegis on the Storm Spirit to get back in this game, but DC is showing no signs of halting. Skywrath almost has as many kills as Wings' entire team.
That is definitely an issue. If you had Wing in your fantasy team, you're gonna be smiling all the way through.
He's still suffering a little bit in terms of net worth over the Storm Spirit, but Storm Spirit could have been a way bigger threat had we not been playing this well.
But it's something too which Wings was probably expecting. Like we've seen it, like the panel was guessing. Black said maybe it wasn't the greatest time to pick up an Ogre, but DC have done it time and time again. They get that early balance their way when that Ogre rotates into mid, plus having an early gamer help, like the Skywrath Mage Orbs.
Yeah, it might be time to bring back the 2-1-2 mid lanes.
Maybe top lane, quick jump, you'll step her up, that's the Slaughter. Still got 6, oh, okay, those charges don't mean anything. He didn't even have a chance to trigger it off as Moo finds the kill.
No chance.
Yeah, no chance, definitely chance though. It's not a boo you're hearing if you're listening back at home. That is all for the Moo, as now the Hawk, nice, unable to hit that reactive armor.
Misery still needs to be recalled if they want to make this a 5-man push.
Where's your fight?
Oh, he has Scepter. This is going to be insanely difficult for Wings to hold.
Especially during the daytime. Extra heal, Blink and dump himself in. The time lock holds him in. The global silence. They'll actually pull Blink away with the hook, but now DC, no global silence to fight up against. They know they got the advantage, they got Chrono, they got everything their heart desires. All they want is the racks. DC, everyone was pinging Wings to try and win this grand final. The favorites to do it for DC. They will be the first to claim the full set of racks on top. Fortification from Wings is slowing this fight down. TI16 still looking for a good angle. Blink jumps in. They don't have the opening just yet to smoke the hog. It actually drags the Slaughter out of his thrust. They still know they got more than multicast. Blink falls up down outside the Chrono. Someone's the corner's have an innocence. He can't pull him out in time. They'll have to hold in. They have to back up under the tier 4 towers. DC, they're rampaging on. Remember, objective-based gaming for GG. Blink will call them. DC take game number 1 of the TI6 Grand Final against Wings. The boys that went all the way through the winner's bracket.
Jeez. We is insane on that Skywrath made. And again, the early game over for Misery. You can still feel the effects of his first 5 minutes.
It's the confidence of DC to go for a left field pick like that. You're actually wondering, could anyone draft against Wings? Can anyone get the advantage? And Digital Chaos, they've done it. They're 1 game up in this best of 5.
It was so hard for Wings to execute their line with the Pudge. 1 and 8 didn't really connect on too many hooks.